Hello everybody, my name is Sachin Bhandari and I am also known as Eccentric Sachin. I am also the founder of the Story Co. Here at this company, we help startups identify and narrate their stories in a much more impactful way to potential investors and customers. In this video, I am going to talk to you about the role of symbols and rituals in storytelling. A lot of us think storytelling is just about communication in terms of verbal or written communication or through creative communication as in ads and films, etc., etc. But that's not really true. That's not the extent where storytelling is limited. Storytelling goes beyond all of these mediums as well. So let me share a few stories with you so that you are aware of some of the symbols and rituals and you can figure out for yourself whether you have an opportunity to use a similar symbol or a ritual in the storytelling that you do for your brand or for your startup. So let's get started. The first story I want to share with you is the story of Amazon and empty chairs. Amazon, the company, in its early days used to have empty chairs in almost every meeting that they used to have. And you know, there was a secret behind it. The secret is that Jeff Bezos from day one wanted to make Amazon about customer centricity, about focusing on the customer. So it was his mantra to leave an empty chair in every meeting just to remind all the meeting members that this is the chair for the customer. So he has the seat at the table and it is our job to make sure that his voice is heard. And I think that's a fantastic way to keep reminding your team about the focus, about the discipline, and about the objective of what you are trying to do. So if every time you are able to think about the customer because you have an empty chair, I think the decisions that you make are also better. I'll move on to the second story. Somebody who's equally well known, that's Bill Gates. Bill Gates has really worked on his communication in the past decade or so. He's exceedingly become a better speaker. So he gave a TED talk about mosquitoes and malaria some years ago. And in the middle of the talk, it was probably about 5 minutes into his talk, he opened up a jar filled with mosquitoes and let them fly around. And he said something like, why should poor people just have the privilege of being bitten by mosquitoes or having this experience? And the entire crowd was in laughter. But he also mentioned that the mosquitoes are non-infected, so nobody really had to worry about any disease or fever or anything like that. And that was a great way in which he was able to bring a distant problem, something that the audience didn't really experience, and bring it so close to them. So that's a fantastic way of getting people to take notice. And I would like to term that as surprise. That's a surprise that you build into your talk, into your communication. You can also evaluate if you have such opportunities while giving a talk or even while you're communicating with team members or to other customers as well. Now let's move on to sports, because I think sports has the best stories, right? You want to learn from sports people because of their discipline, their grit, their determination. And one such team which embodied all of these qualities and more was the champion Chicago Bulls team, which won the championship 6 times. Not 1, not 2, but 6 times. And that team, of course, was led by Michael Black Jesus Jordan and a lot of other really famous players from NBA. And the story goes like this. The coach of Chicago Bulls that time, Phil Jackson was really into spirituality and storytelling. So what he did when the team won 6 championships and it was clear that they were not going to play as a team again together, he got all of them together because everybody was slightly not sure about how to move on, how to say goodbye to this splendid chapter in their lives. And he got all of them together and got them to write what the team meant to them on a piece of paper. Just a simple pen and paper. He got everybody to write what the team meant to them. And in that exercise, Steve Kerr, who was one of the other great players of the team, he had written a poem about the team and he narrated that poem in that meeting. The team members also got to see the rare emotional side of Michael Jordan in that meeting as well. After everybody read out what the team meant to them, the papers were put in a coffee can and they were burnt. And that was a way for the team to move on and to say goodbye to each other and to this chapter of their lives. It's said that Phil got this idea from his wife, who works in the social sector in an NGO, and they used to use this tactic for people who are grieving about something. So if you are able to take something, write about it, either throw it away or you burn it away, it gives you a sense of closure which may not be available otherwise. The next story I want to narrate to you is of Richard Scucci. He is probably the CEO who was embroiled in the most high-profile case of corporate fraud in the United States of America, and the public opinion was really against him. But it is a very interesting case of how his lawyers, his attorneys actually pursued storytelling to be able to get him acquitted on 85 counts of fraud. Yeah. So Jim Parkman, his attorney, when he made the opening statement as the defense lawyer, he was, countering the arguments made by the prosecution. They were really long, boring numbers, etc., etc. He just stood up and told the jury that yes, we understand that, nobody expects us to win, but I want to tell you something my grandma used to tell me all the time. And that is that no matter how thin they make the pancake, it always has two sides. Now, he immediately caught the attention and the fancy of the jury and the judges because he had sent a very simple message using an analogy, using a story, and so much so that it became a bit of a talk of the town about that pancake and two sides. Even the media latched on to the message and talked about it, and they went on to say that we are going to listen to Richard's side of the story because every pancake has two sides no matter how thin it is. So that's another way of being able to give people a very simple analogy, simple symbols, so that they remember what your message is. So that's another way you can use symbols in storytelling. After this, I want to talk to you about mascots. Everybody loves them, right? So probably you've heard and you've seen Ronald McDonald. In India, we know the Delhi Metro girl, if you've ever traveled on the Delhi Metro. If you are an HDFC Bank customer, you know of Eva, who pops up all the time on the website saying, "Ask Eva." Now, mascots are an interesting way of being able to tell your story, but they are also storytellers for your brand, because the CEO may move on from the job, but you will have the mascot for a long time if people actually love him. Now, mascots are nice because they can embody your brand's values and build affinity for your brand. So they need to have human-like characters, but they exactly are not like everyday human beings. That's what makes them special. But at the same time, mascots, you have to be careful with them because you need to be able to appeal to a lot of people, and because they are creative or creative renditions, a lot of people may not connect with them as well. So that's another way in which you can use storytelling through mascots. These are all the stories. If you have any questions about how to use storytelling to be able to communicate with investors or communicate better with potential customers, we are more than happy to help you. Ask us your questions in the comments, and me or somebody from my team will be happy to answer them. That's it from me in this video. Do let me know if you have any other ideas. I'll be happy to figure out if I can make videos on those, and I'll see you in the next video very soon.